Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes? It's Matt here from YoVideogames. E3 2016 is come and gone, and it is high time we start talking about the hands-on demonstration of the games of the show. Now, you might notice that the title might be a little confusing, where I say, this is the best game of E3. Well, all these games were really good. I didn't actually play a lot of games I didn't like. I was really focused on only playing the games I wanted to play, and really, honestly, there really wasn't any stinkers that I spent any time waiting to play at E3. So, without further ado, let's talk about the best games of E3 2016. And today we're going to start things off with Shantae Half Genie Hero. Shantae Half Genie Hero, of course, comes from WayForward Technologies, who have made a trilogy of games for portable systems in the past. You can check them out on the 3DS in full. You can check them out on Steam now. And there are probably other ways you can get it if you really want to get crazy and get collector heavy. Get the Game Boy Color version of the first game. I have a box copy of that, and boy howdy is that one hard to find. Anyways, enough about that. Shantae Half Genie Hero is technically the fourth game in the series, but it's sort of a soft refresh in a way. You don't have to really play the original trilogy of games because that kind of wrapped itself up very nicely with Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. So this game is it's not a reboot, but it is sort of a fresh look at the story. You don't have to worry about the past games too much, which is good. Because on one hand, I don't really like having to reboot things too much, and on the other hand, there's going to be a lot of new players coming into it who won't know exactly what the full background of the character is, so that's good. So best of both worlds there. The E3 demo was specifically made for the show, and it took place in Scuttletown, which is sort of like the main hub town of the series. So for those of you who don't know, Shantae is a half genie, half human, half genie. She protects Scuttletown, which is a seaside port town, very Arabian-themed look to it. And basically that's usually where most of the games start for the trilogy. And the E3 demo was pretty cool because there was a demo given out to backers of this game, and this one is actually different. Now, when I say backers, yes, this was a Kickstarted game. It was pretty much funded by us, and as it's come along, it's looked really, really good. So here's the thing. I know there's been another game that's come out just now, and it's really not looking too hot, especially for the poor people who really were expecting a very old-school platformer-style experience from it. Well, fear not. Shantae Half Genie Hero looks fucking gorgeous. On a 2D scale, it is probably the prettiest game that we've seen come out of this sort of drive to have these retro goodness. Now, Shovel Knight was very intentionally looking like an 8-bit or 16-bit game. It looked kind of like a TurboGrafx game to me, somewhere in between. And then we got other games that sort of use 3D engines to make 2D games, which like Bloodstained and like that other game, which shall not be named. But this game is using hand-drawn character sprites. I guess maybe sprites isn't the right word, but it basically uses the same kind of stuff that DuckTales character models used. And good God, does it look really good. This game is a clear labor of love, because even though it got a very successful Kickstarter, it actually didn't even come close to the amount of money some of these other big Kickstarter games have gotten, and it actually looks fan-fucking-tastic. So I could go on and on about the graphics all day, but just know that this is probably one of the prettiest games that is going to come out this year. And I don't just mean for a Kickstarter. I mean it is going to be one of the prettiest games, period. It is that good looking. The animation is smooth. The most important thing about the game is that it actually controls very well. It's not a cakewalk, and the jumping up and down and through scaffolding and attacking enemies all feels really good. It's got a very Castlevania feel. Shantae uses a hair whip maneuver, so it's basically a whip from Castlevania. It works really well. The demo works really well. The other big thing of Shantae is that she usually has some sort of transformation. We see that in the demo. You can transform into a chimpanzee to reach other platforms, to reach other areas of the level, as Scuttletown is getting attacked by all the Scuttlebat pirates. It all culminates at the very end with a big battle against this big slugboat boss, which is fun. It's got a pretty, it's got a little trick to beating it. It's not too hard to figure out, but it's not just a simple whack fest. Anyways, enough. With all that being said, this game's looking really good. It's coming out really soon. Actually, it's coming out in September now. Of course, that is past the initial day that they wanted to release it with a Kickstarter, but it is going to have a bunch of extra features with it. You can buy it at retail now for PS4 and Wii U. I'm not sure if the Vita is getting a retail build as well, but the retail versions are going to come with the soundtrack CD. Now, the soundtrack is done by Vert, or Jake Kaufman, the man who did the DuckTales Remastered soundtrack and a bunch of other WayForward soundtracks, and you know him, you know how good he is. He did Double Dragon Neon if you really need proof. The soundtrack's a little hard to hear at the show floor, but from what we've seen and what we've seen in the trailers and what I could hear, it all sounded really good. The past Shantaes have really good soundtracks on, nothing to worry about there. I think one of the cooler things about the game is that it actually has a swimming mechanic, which is odd because it's odd to say that because some people might not be aware that like a lot of times in past games and games of this nature, water is just basically a sort of flashy way of bottomless pit. And in Shantae, actually, it's going to have a swimming mechanic. We've seen stuff where she'll probably have a mermaid transformation. And it's nice that if, hey, oh shit, I fell in the water, it's not game over immediately. It's not a bottomless pit. So that's actually really cool to see. And this game is a looker. The animation is fantastic. The guys at WayForward have always been known to do it, but now they're actually doing a full HD passion project. Not one that's licensed, even though they did love the DuckTales license. Not one that's for any other older franchise, but their own homegrown franchise, that Matt Bozon and his wife created. And it is coming together beautifully. If you love Castlevania, either the original or the Igavania style, you'll probably love Shantae. If you love Monster World, if you know about Monster World even, or Wonder Boy in Monster World, or any of those old classic Master System games, if you know about them, because that's actually where Shantae derives most of its inspiration from, is from those Monster World or Wonder Boy and Monsterland. I'm probably getting the names a little confused here, but there are about 3 or 4 of them on the Master System, and I think TurboGrafx might have had some of them as well, and they were really good. They're sort of non-linear platformers, not quite like an Igavania, Metroidvania style game, but kind of something unique on their own. They usually have some sort of shot mechanic or some sort of transformation mechanic. They're really interesting, and I think if you have an eye or a taste for old school design, we're talking like early 90s, late 80s. If you got a really good taste or eye for stuff like that, I think you're really gonna dig it. I mean, Shovel Knight was a good example of a style of game that wasn't exactly copying any one thing, but maybe a bunch of things from the past and made it something new and fresh and unique. And Shantae's kind of in the same boat, always has been. The only thing I can say is that I think I'm gonna miss some of the move maneuvers from Pirate's Curse. Some of the stuff you had, like the dash forward, the hat, which helped you kind of like parasail a bit, and some of that stuff, I think I'm gonna miss some of that. But at the end of the day, though, we don't know how many new powers or abilities we'll have in this game, but the core base mechanic, running, jumping, and attacking, all feels good, and that's the most important part. And it looks fucking fantastic. For having less than a quarter of the budget of that other game, it's kind of shocking how much better a game can look when you have a passionate group of people working on it and a really good sense of direction going into it. This is going to be one of the better games coming out this fall. You might think I'm crazy, but hey, if you're like me, you're from the old school Sega Nintendo days, the real console war days, if you're from that era, this is going to be for you. This is for us. This is not the big AAA, third person, first person shooter, game of the modern era. We're talking like classic old school platforming and open-ended goodness. So Shantae and Half Genie Hero at E3 was a fantastic demo. I can't wait to play it. It's going to come out on a lot of other things, although I think it's hitting PS4, Xbox, Steam, Wii U first. They're having, actually, I can't actually say for sure. I know that there might be some delay on some of the 360, PS3 versions of the game. I don't know this. You can always check out the Kickstarter page. You can check out WayForward's website. You can check out even their Twitter. I'm not 100% sure, but for definitely, there will be retail builds of the PS4 and Wii U, and I think Vita come September. So be on the lookout for it. It's a great game. I think you'll have a lot of fun playing it, especially if you like Shovel Knight and DuckTales Remastered. So great game and one of the best games of E3 2016. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you on the channel. Later, dudes.